Welcome to the Mildred Gaddis Show's Your Money Matters with Mr. Ellis Liddell of ELE Wealth Management.
Trees have long been an American pastime.
Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
But as the prices of pretty much everything are on the rise, some shoppers are hiding their retail therapy from their significant others.
My husband found my secret stash in the linen closet.
A new article in the Wall Street Journal calls it stealth shopping and says it's on the rise, with more Americans hiding big purchases from their partners.
Hiding purchases means that something has gone very wrong before you ever swipe the credit card. It means you're not communicating effectively as a couple. It means you haven't created a vision of how you both want to spend your money.
One survey found, on average, secret spenders shell out nearly $475 behind their partners' backs. Another found nearly half of partnered Americans have hidden or lied about financial information to their significant other. Camilla Riley is a school teacher in Irving, Texas. She fills her summer days hunting for bargains, often hiding the evidence from her husband, Roston. Why are you sneaking packages into your house?
What?
I'm not teaching. And so to pass my time away, I'm on Amazon and ordering from Target. And my husband doesn't really like that much. So typically when the packages arrive, I have to go out, grab them, and sneak them into my closet.
Friends and family reacting to Camilla's social media post admitting her secret, with many saying they do the same thing.
I don't feel alone.
But in the Riley house, it turns out keeping purchases under wraps goes both ways. What was the last thing you bought, Roston, that you didn't tell her about?
Golf related.
Something golf related. There's always something golf related.
This so-called financial infidelity varies by generation. More than half of Gen Zers and millennials admit to doing it, while 44% of Gen X says they hide their hauls from their partners. Baby boomers are the least likely to keep their purchases from each other. But experts say your savings might not be the only thing that suffers.
Financial infidelity is absolutely devastating. And we have to remember that lying erodes trust, but lying about money destroys it.
Now, the Rileys laugh with each other about their secret spending. For them, it's more about exercising some independence inside their budget. The fact is, people have been doing this, hiding purchases from their partners and spouses forever. You can't just blame it on inflation or right now. It's true. One survey found the most common explanation for why people do this is to maintain privacy and to control their own finances.
What do you think? Do you do this shit?
I don't do it. I mean, you're right. People have been doing this since the beginning of time, but for me, it's like live your life. If that's what you want to do, buy the shoes.
I've known my wife since 6th grade. There's no secret. There's no hiding. There's nothing. It's all out.
Now, I love that sentence. I've known my wife since 6th grade. Mr. Ellis Liddell, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. CEO of ELE Wealth Management. Mr. Liddell. Is it a real problem?
It's a real problem.
I had never heard this term. When I saw this, I'm just cracking up as I'm watching this on NBC. I believe it was on Thursday morning. What's interesting, and you've got to tell me why. Tell us why. What's interesting, baby boomers are at 19%, and everybody else is up near 63 or whatever. Why? Why?
Baby boomers are older. So they're older, so you more than likely you don't need to sneak in red bottom shoes into your house at this point as a baby boomer. However, if you were younger than that and value, clothes on your back, it no longer brings us that much value as baby boomers. However, if you're younger, you still value clothing. You listen, there were people buying tickets to Taylor Swift concert just to take a picture saying they were at the concert so they could post it on Instagram or on social media. Beyonce concert, the same thing. And those tickets were outrageous. And if you're on a tight budget, imagine paying $1,000 for a ticket just to take a picture on Instagram and say you were there. But that's what people were doing.
So, let's talk about how this begins.
Yes.
How does it begin?
Well, let's go back and do a little history first. So, 2017 is when that term first started to kind of stick his head up and show itself. And it was coined by saying that if you are in an intimate relationship with someone and you're keeping financial secrets from them, then you're committing financial infidelity. However, you don't have to be in an intimate relationship. You could have a roommate, and when it's time to pay your rent, you don't have your half of the rent. And we all been through that one. Mm-hmm. All right. Or it could be a car note when you bought a car with a partner. It could be any. So let's broaden the definition and talk about the fact that you're just not being honest about your part of the money, your portion that you're supposed to come up with.
And the remedy is?
Well, it's so important to talk about it, but we're not ready for the remedy just yet.
Okay.
Well, we're still setting the stage for how this occurs and how the other partner doesn't see it as cheating.
Now, that's interesting. The first thing come to my mind is,
right.
What else is he lying about? If he's lying about the money, what else is he lying about?
Or she? I just want to be an equal opportunity praiser here.
I know. I'm a female.
I got you. So what else is he lying about?
Yeah.
Yep. So with that in mind, the thing that we have to be concerned with, as you stated, what else are they lying about? What else are they hiding from me? What else are they not doing? What else are they not telling me? It just opens Pandora's box. And it's just so much that it creates so much confusion in the household.
Yeah. And for the record, it has nothing to do with this discussion. Maybe not. Women are better liars than men.
Always.
Women are better liars. We're not sloppy. We don't leave breadcrumbs. We've mastered it. I'm not bragging on that. I'm just saying that we are.
Yeah, guys tend not to the detail. And you know they say the devil's in the detail. And guys tend not to be detail oriented. So therefore you leave breadcrumbs, as Ms. Gaddis just described, and they lead right back to the culprit.
Always.
Yeah.
Have you had, you counsel a lot of people about money all the time, every day. Can you share a story that's been...
Years ago, absolutely. I can share one that's old.
Okay.
Credit cards are the biggest challenge that I find is that people would charge things on a credit card, because if the credit card's only in your name, you can opt out of getting statements. So the statements never come to the house.
Right.
So your partner can't ever see that you're committing this infidelity. So what I find is credit cards is probably the biggest culprit. And most things are paid for with a debit or credit card nowadays.
I remember when you predicted how this debit card and all of that was going to change. And it seemed, and I'm not sure I was happy with it, but, and then all of a sudden people stopped balancing their checkbooks.
That's right. And let's talk about why. They can look on their phone and see their balance every day. Now, that doesn't mean you still shouldn't have a budget. That's the challenge. They stop budgeting also. They stop balancing their checkbook and they stop budgeting. Meaning, I must have money. I'm going to get a check. And they change the pay cycle. Almost, there are very few companies out there that pay once a month anymore. There used to be, that was the thing. No, most people pay every 2 weeks now. Every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks you got new money coming in. But if your mortgage is high and your car payment is high, you're probably putting the car payment and the mortgage in different pay cycles. Mm-hmm. Just to kind of balance things out. And then when you talk to millennials and younger, you ask, what's your biggest budget? What's the biggest budget item? Believe it or not, it's food. They spend $1,200 a month on food because they're Uber this and Uber that. Lyft is, they're just convenience. They've been trained. Everything's about convenience.
And no time flat.
Right. So that creates more of a risk of infidelity, is because they come in with some habits that have to be broken. Now, one of the things that I always say is that when you get married, or you start living with someone, or you have a partner, however we want to say it, how many accounts should you have when it comes to money? Because money is one of those things that can either pull you together or it can separate you. Now, here's a better story, Ms. Gaddis. And this is a baby boomer story. Because the baby boomers, there still were cases where the man was the only one working and the wife raised the children. So if you're the only one working, who controls the money? Who brings in the money? The husband. And the husband controlled the wife by giving her a credit card that he signed her on, so he would know exactly where she's spending money. So I had one case where the wife got the credit card, and the only way for her to get extra money was to buy things and take them back to the store.
Wow.
And that's when they wouldn't refund the credit card. They would give you cash when you return items. So that's how she got around having extra funds. And when the wife decided she wanted to leave her husband, how do you leave a person when you're broke?
You can't.
You got to plan ahead. So she had to set up a strategy for leaving her husband a few years in advance, buying things and taking them back to the store to put the money over to the side. And that's the ultimate in financial infidelity right there. But that is that's what actually had to happen. That's the only strategy she had. She couldn't go to her family members because the husband had everybody eating out of his hand, as they say.
Wow.
Everybody loved this guy because he's a guy that showed up with a gift. When he invited them over for Thanksgiving, he brought a gift. He always was that guy. But at home, he's controlling his wife by making sure she doesn't work anywhere and that she doesn't have any money. And that's economic slavery.
Wow.
Economic servitude. You're being controlled because of the lack of funds. So it took a strategy for her to plan her exit strategy.
Well, she knew she was going to do it, didn't she?
Oh, yeah. She knew what she had. She knew what she had married. She knew what she had dealt with. And she knew it was time to make a break. And she couldn't tell her children.
Wow.
Because they were going to tell their daddy.
I'm going to tell my daddy.
Right.
Wow. Now, what's the mindset of the current generation?
Well, this is my money. I can shop. I can do what I want. And it's not that simple because it affects you somewhere down the line. The money you spend today affects future. I have clients calling me now. They're trying to retire. They're 65 years old. They want to come out and retire. And they're saying, Ms. Liddell, I want to retire, but my income is going to drop in half.
Wow.
But we're used to living off all the income.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's also happens when someone in the family dies. There's two incomes coming in, 2 Social Security checks, maybe 2 pensions. And now you're going to lose half of that. So let's just say you had $6,000 coming into the household and one person dies and you lose $3,000. You still got to make ends meet on $3,000. Now, it sounds like that ought to be easy. Not when your lifestyle calls for $5,000. So you have to be mindful of that simple fact that a loss is a loss.
Is that the reason that there are a lot of retirees who are going back to work?
Absolutely. They don't have a choice. Can't live off of Social Security. And then when you hear the political commentaries about one person wanting to continue Social Security and to beef it up and another one wanting to stop it,
yeah,
you vote your pocket.
And it will do. What would happen in this country if Social Security was discontinued?
Oh, you'd have a lot of people, a lot of impoverished people. You'd have a lot of people in trouble. If Social Security disappeared tomorrow, I'd say 80% of the U.S. retiree population would be in trouble, big trouble. And you already see older people working sometimes when you go into different stores, restaurants, different places. You see older people working. They're not working because they're tired of sitting around the house.
And some of them you say, why would this person put up with this? Because customers aren't nice anymore.
Right.
They're not pleasant.
No. And here's the thing is that time slipped up on those people. In other words, you worked under the table for a long time. You work for a job that said, I'm going to give you more money, but I'm not going to pay into Social Security. And you say, okay. And then if you were a police officer, certain departments didn't pay into Social Security. Certain federal people didn't pay into Social Security. So there's plenty of reasons why this happened. But when you find that you're the person who it happened to and you're 60 years old, you're 2 years away from getting normal Social Security, and you find that the check's only going to be less than $1,000 a month for you, that becomes a major challenge. And we're going to take this back to infidelity, financial infidelity, and how it hurts people because everybody living for today? No, you got to live for tomorrow, not just today. You want to enjoy today, but you want to have a firm grip on tomorrow.
Yeah. Your money matters here on the Mildred Gaddis Show. If you have a money question, please give us a call here at 568-1059, 568-1059. Mr. Liddell will take your questions. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Your Money Matters here on the Mildred Gaddis Show.
Welcome to the Mildred Gaddis Show's Your Money Matters with Mr. Ellis Liddell of ELE Wealth Management.
And by the way, the number to ELE Wealth Management is 248-356-6555. That's 248-356-6555. I got a question for you, but let's take Dave's question first. Dave from Inkster. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, how you doing, Mildred? This is Dave from Inkster.
Good to hear from you.
Okay, I retired in 2020. Okay, and I was living off a 401k, Social Security, and a pension. But I've been paying so much taxes to a point where I had to stop withdrawing money off my 401k and start asking a little bit more money taken from my Social Security and pension. And I'm trying to figure out, when should I start taking money again off, withdrawing from my 401k?
Good morning, Dave.
Hey, good morning, Ellis Liddell.
Yeah. Dave, how old are you?
I am the same age as you are.
You 66, brother?
I'm already turned 67 in June.
All right, I'll catch you later on in the year, all right?
I know we're the same age. We're the same year.
Right. Okay, so part of why you're getting hit with taxes, you said it. You wasn't taking enough out of the pension and enough out of your Social Security. So now that you got that balance, you could probably take. Now, sounds like you're doing pretty well. In other words, you don't stop taking checks unless you don't need the money.
Well, the reason why I stopped, because I'm living in a paid-for house and 2 paid-for vehicles, and I'm single, which ain't gonna last too long.
If you keep taking it like that, I got you.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm able to stop my 401k, because I know pretty soon I'm gonna need some vehicles again.
Got it. That's the one thing about that.
It's paid. My house is paid for, but it needs repairs.
Right. You know what? And that's a great point, Dave, because a lot of people don't think about that. One of the things I try and tell my clients is, don't take a house payment into retirement. Why? Because Dave just said it. You're going to need repairs on that house.
Yeah, definitely need repairs. The house been paid for. Actually, I paid it off in 2020 when I got a lump sum of money. When they kicked me out the door, they gave me a service package.
Well, at least you were smart. Yeah, you were smart. Yeah, you used it for the right thing. You paid it off. You can see that. You can see that service package the rest of your life. But you're right. When a house gets to be 15 years old, it needs updating.
Oh, it definitely needs updating. This house was built practically around the same year me and you was born. Definitely.
Yeah, it served you well, so it's done great. However, you're right. It's going to need some updates. So you answered your own question, believe it or not. You have to cut back. You have to increase your taxes in order. People complain about taxes. Let me say this here. There's some folks who wish they had your problem, Dave, as it relates to taxes, because they don't have a pension check. They just don't get a pension check. Social Security is it for most people.
When I heard him describe his situation, I'm like, how sweet it is.
Right. Yep. How sweet it is to have those issues.
That's come from listening to you on the radio over the years. I only met you once, but heard you a lot on the radio. But even though I'm getting all that, it's not a high pension. It's about basics, and Social Security I'm getting $2,000 plus a month take home. Yeah. And then whatever I do, I can take my 401k and decide whatever I need.
Got it. Well, that's the key thing is you have options. You actually have options, and you opted to be single.
Well, that's due to the fact when I've been listening to Mildred Gaddis 911 program.
Relationship 911.
Leadership 911 taught me a whole lot to be careful going into retirement, so I had to be single. Wasn't always my choice, but it ended up that way.
Got it. Well, trust me, there's some people out there who would still take you on, Dave, because you got benefits, all right?
Well, you know what? If they can bring some benefits with them to match my benefits, then maybe we can live good for the remainder of our life. That would work.
Hey, Mildred, to keep your phone number.
I can take on someone that'll help me out, but I can't take on a dependent.
No, that makes sense to me, Dave. Make total sense to me.
Yeah, I learned that from Mildred.
Got it.
You know I love you, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
Have a great one. It's so good to hear from you. It's been too long, my friend.
What would be the best time I should start taking money out the 401k again?
But only when you need it. Only when you need it, because your 401k is your emergency fund in this case, because you don't have to take money until you turn 73. And based on who becomes the president, it may go up until 75. So you've got time.
Okay, but I'm going to need these house repairs at least. At least sometime starting next year. I mean, I can maybe finish the rest of this year, but I know I'm going to need some next year.
Like, do this then. Put the money you pull from the 401k into 2 different tax years. So in December, take a little money, and then in January, take the balance of what you need. That way you have 2 different tax seasons to deal with that withdrawal, okay?
Okay, that makes sense. I just take some in December again, start in December, and then take some in January.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, Dave, have a great one.
All right, thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Here on Your Money Matters, Mr. Liddell, before you go, I must ask you, what is the difference? First of all, let me tell you, when I first heard the term financial infidelity, I'm like, what? I never heard that before. But what's the difference between financial infidelity and sexual infidelity?
All right, they both feel bad. I'm just telling you. I mean, they both feel bad, and you've got to sneak around to do them both. So from that standpoint, they both bring their own personal challenges. And the person who's hurt sexually, it takes them a long time to get past that, which is so interesting that it takes so long to get past it, because sex is a fleeting thing. That's why people want to do it regularly, because it's fleeting. And if financial infidelity is similar, because as soon as you bought something, you turn around, and that feeling you got from purchasing something, sneaking to purchase something, once you purchased it, that feeling's gone. So that
really
person's doing it again. So they're very similar, and they both hurt. And that's what people have to remember. They equally hurt you, and they cut to the bone. No, they cut to the white meat, Jonathan.
All right, we've got Princess on the line. What's your question for Mr. Ellis Liddell, please?
Yes, my question is, I called the establishment that has my Roth IRA, and they asked me was I married or not, and I said no. They said because if I was married, my husband would have to know about that Roth IRA. And then he went on to explain back in the day, I guess husbands were not letting their wives know about, I guess, their Roth IRAs and so on and so forth. So that would be considered infidelity is right as well, correct, Mr. Liddell?
Back in the day, if you had, in other words, you're putting money someplace and didn't tell your spouse, yes. Because you're tackling life together, right?
Exactly.
Us against the world.
I said, well, I'm not married, so he said, well, I said, what does that have to do with the tea in China? You know, if I were to get married, then he would still have to know about that? I don't think that's right.
Well, let me just say this here. Actually, the whole conversation wasn't normal. So you don't traditionally have to disclose to your spouse that you have a Roth IRA. So all of that was, I don't know where that, I've never heard that question before.
Mm-hmm.
In 43 years of doing this, I've never heard that was the case. So I don't know. It may have been their policy. Keep in mind, everybody who sets an account up, they have their own policies. So that may have been their policy, but that's not a normal policy.
I got you.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Princess, thank you so much for listening and thank you for calling in with your question, okay?
Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Goodbye. We don't want our listeners to forget the upcoming webinar, Mr. Liddell.
Yes, on this coming Thursday.
Yes.
We're going to talk about how to pick a money coach. And we're actually going to do an interview with my other son, Darren, who does money coaching in Brooklyn, New York. And he's got clients all over the United States that he's a money coach for. So we're going to interview him and talk about what's the difference in, say, a money coach and a financial advisor.
All right, people, and you can reserve your space on the webinar by going to elewealth.com. elewealth.com. Mr. Liddell, I think we've learned a few things here this morning.
Yeah, this is what I want to leave everyone with. Make sure that you're not cheating yourself. Because ultimately, financial infidelity cheats everybody involved. It's just like any other relationship. When you commit to being financially together, achieving goals together, then once you involve a third party or secrets, you're no longer together.
Hear ye, hear ye.
You've been listening to Your Money Matters on the Mildred Gaddis Show with Mr. Ellis Liddell of ELE Wealth Management.